show wraps up and we're getting outside, and there was a mob. There was just a mob, and I remember being driven out of town, like pickup trucks following us. Like, we want you get all y'all get on out of here, and don't come back. Yeah,
outrageous.
Yeah,
that is wild. Holy shit.
That's probably the worst. That's probably the worst.
Welcome to the 179th episode of the Cast That Ends Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering. This is the show to interview bands and public figures from the mathcore and mathcore adjacent communities. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, do all things social. Every little bit helps. And feel free to join us every Sunday and Wednesday for the live cast where you can interact with the guests in real time or just hang out in the chat. You can also subscribe to this Twitch channel for just $5 to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and other streaming platforms, as well as get some exclusive emotes. And you can do that for free by attaching Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. It's like taking $5 from Jeff Bezos' pocket and putting it into mine. My new EP, Unicorn Laser Bubblegum City, is out now on all platforms. I also have some sick merch over at my Bandcamp. Be sure to check it out at thesoundthatenscreation.bandcamp.com. With that out of the way, let me introduce my guest today, who dropped their first album in 21 years, Good, back on Halloween. Welcome in the Sawtooth Grin. How's it going, guys?
Hey, what's happening?
Oh, yeah. Thank y'all for coming on. Y'all are awesome. Can we start by just introducing everybody? Tell us who you are, what you do in the band. I guess we'll start with John.
John Carroll here. I play lead guitar. Not rhythm guitar.
Yeah. I'm Jason Springman. I also play lead guitar.
My name is Rich Lombardi. I play baritone guitar.
Lots of guitar.
I'm Kevin. Kevin Estriesian, and I play backup xylophone.
And I'm DJ Scully. I play long guitar.
Rachel Music said that you guys formed in 1999.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's a long time
ago. I formed in 1983 out of my mother's vagina.
Okay. But how did the band end up coming together?
Oh, the band.
The band. We're going to make a jar for John in a little bit. He's going to have to put a lot of dollars in it. The band came to be out of the ashes of a previous band. Initially, it consisted of mostly just local kids from the neighborhood, the street that I lived on, Montrose, New York. We primarily were doing like a lot of sort of like Shai-Hulud light, kind of positive, straight edge hardcore kind of stuff. A little bit of like a cave-in influence. When our previous bands kind of went belly up, we kind of banded together to start the first sort of iteration of what the Sawtooth Grin was going to end up being. We had the name before we had the lineup and Cuddle Monster and all that kind of stuff. Existed in limbo for about a year before we really accomplished anything. And then we got Jay from across the river in Rockland County. And that's when we started sort of hurtling towards what everybody kind of understands from back then. That's sort of the Cuddle Monster era of the band, and that would have been probably 2000, 2001,
How old were y'all when y'all got together?
Early 20s.
Okay, I always had the idea y'all were like high school kids for some reason. I don't know where that came from.
There was some high school involved. Like I was 19. I remember having my 20th birthday, and I invited my new bandmates to it. So it was like I definitely was 19. Rich is a little older than me. But there were some younger folks in the band also.
It's not, I don't think it's even a full year though. I think that I'm just like, just like a few months.
What age, Michael, what age did you get circumcised at?
I'm sorry. Who says that I am?
Forget that. Yeah, I'll never forget that birthday party, that first birthday party. That was like a brain breaker.
Oh yeah, it was wild.
I'll say that. There was a million juicers just set out in a friend of ours' yard, and there's just all these people like just juicing and just hula hooping. I've never seen so much hula hooping in my life.
I love juicers, man. Oh my god! Because there's two kinds of juicers. There's a, but then there's also a.
Yeah, where you press it down. These were industrial strength, man. This were some serious juicing going on. It was crazy.
I love that.
Really, really crazy.
So, where did the name the Sawtooth Grin come from? You just think that was a badass name, or
yeah,
I always thought it was like based off a cryptid or something.
Oh, that would, God, that's a better story than I've got. I don't have much of a good. I mean, the story I've got is, I thought it was cool. I think I read it in a book in my younger days. Jay and I worked in a very large bookstore retailer for a really long time, so we were around a lot of books all the time. It ended up being the exact title of a Bloodlet song as well, which is something that, contrary to what you might expect, considering the specificity of the title, I didn't know in advance, which is funny, but it ended up being true. Yeah, I don't know. It was just something that we were looking for, something that evoked the direction that we were trying to go in. We wanted to go in a more savage direction. We wanted to go in a crazier direction. We wanted to push towards a little bit more, a little further away from kind of like the more hardcore leanings that some of the earlier bands that we were doing were kind of sort of entrenched in. We didn't really fit in with that. One King Down was really sick. And we saw Candiria. Literally every gig I went to in that era, Candiria was on the bill.
Ken Shaw, Candiria, you'll listen to this at some point. You're my hero. You're my idol. I love you. You're my best friend.
Shout out to the fellas in Candiria. 718. Dude, we love that. We love that kind of stuff. So when we would see bands like Candiria play, play on gigs with bands like Madball or bands with like Sick of It All or whatever, and Candiria would be one of the first few bands on the set. We knew that there was something in the air, something cooking, something a little more interesting, something a little harder to bob your head to, but maybe a little easier to murder a crowd to. I don't know. Because it's certainly kind of what they encompass to us. We've sort of them piggybacked with a few other groups of that era. I'm a big Dead Guy fan. I just wanted to push towards something noisier, and we didn't have the tools initially, and we struggled for, like I said, about that year to kind of get there. We met Jay through some mutual friends from across the river, and that's really when things started getting going,
Well, so back to like why I thought that it was like a cryptid or whatever.
Because
you did Cuddle Monster, and so I thought that was like the cryptid you were basing it off of. And then the Sawtooth Grin, he has kind of like jagged teeth and stuff. I thought that was a whole shtick, but I guess it's not. So where did the Cuddle Monster come from then?
That actually Jay came up with.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I just found that out right now.
You were today years old when you realized you came up with that album title.
Yeah.
Was it surprising when you found it out? How did it feel emotionally?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. It sounds like the stupid sort of thing that I would throw out there.
We were you and I were out to lunch. One day we were working at Barnes and Noble. We were out to lunch. And we were eating at a Chinese food place, and it was just sort of down the street, down like 202 or whatever it is. And you just like spit it out while we were eating, and we just both started laughing. And I think that's how we knew it was probably right.
It made sense. Right.
It's just at the end of the day, what it boils down to is we, contrary to kind of like what we're looking at right now, and I'm sure we'll talk about like the present day and how incredible it is to see all these bands doing all this crazy stuff. At the time, that wasn't really the case. I mean, there were a handful of us, but we were sort of spread out, and we didn't always get on bills with other bands that were wild. So we kind of, and it's something we've talked about in other interviews, but we kind of cultivated a true sense of sort of spite and antagonism for essentially anything that other bands were doing, anything that bands were doing to try to be perceived as hard or tough or intimidating or scary. We just sort of like, well, let's just go the opposite. Let's go the opposite. And you don't get much more the opposite than Cuddle Monster.
True.
Right. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
sure.
ridiculous.
Elliptica Bruh in chat says, I always thought Cuddle Monster was the sickest ironic name for any hardcore / heavy record. How much of the antithesis does it get after calling a record that sounds like that Cuddle Monster?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dude, like you're right on point, brother. I mean, that's exactly
when you're
what
a
I'm
late
talking
teenager,
about.
irony is a huge turn on.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're 19 years old, irony is a lot of fun. It's sexy.
But no, you were talking about how y'all were kind of like one of like the, I would say one of the first more fully formed ideas that made it into the scene, along with like Dillinger and stuff. Because you were around in like 2001, there weren't a lot of bands doing this. So like, what were the influences? How did y'all get to this point? Because it's just such like a weird thing out of nowhere, I feel like.
Did you fucking see Dillinger Escape Plan in 1999? That was
Oh my
like
God.
an atomic bomb.
It really was. It was a
did.
nuclear explosion. I mean, for myself, I could tell you just what was going through my hand was like, I want to make Calculating Infinity and Gorguts Obscura. Like, I want those two records. I want to do those two things and, and just wield it at people. That's what was on my mind.
But they had emotion.
I don't really know about the emotion. I'm not so sure about the
You don't think
emotion.
Luke LeMay was giving any emotion out on Obscura?
When you consider what Jay just said regarding Dillinger Escape Plan, Gorguts, that sort of connection, and then you factor in, from my perspective, saying like The Locust, Dead Guy, the Blood Brothers. You know what I mean? Sort of from a vocal perspective, Discordance Axis.
Chris Deere, and then that same fucking year, Discordance Axis, Inalienable.
Yeah, 2001, Discordance Axis, Inalienable Dreamless, to me is just like the pinnacle. And I was just sort of like piecing this perspective with Jay's perspective together, kind of like landed us where we were at, especially, at the beginning,
That was the same year Fight Club came out. That was the same year The Matrix came out. Calculating Infinity, 300% Density, Inalienable Dreamless. We were in our late teens, and we're like, this is the world of art. I see what's going on here.
300% Density is so insane.
I see exactly how creative people ought to behave with these little. We had no idea that we were in an apex moment of creative genius.
These great bands.
I am Daniel Robble in chat says your opinion on Daughters when they came out.
Sick. They were that other band first, remember?
As the Sunset.
Yeah, As the Sunset is so dope.
As the Sunset record was sick.
We played with them literally the second they became Daughters.
That's literally, and if I could share, like, that was the sickest show I've ever seen in my entire life. It was at Olives. Well, no, it's the second sickest show I've seen in my life. It was at Olives in Nyack, New York, and it was Sawtooth Grin. The number 12 Looks Like You, and we had booked. John, do you mind stopping doing that? I'm sorry.
I don't mind at all. Who else was booked? Cool.
It was Sawtooth, number 12 Looks Like You, and we had booked Daughters, maybe some other band or whatever. And it
was their tour package. They had two other groups with them out.
Yeah, they were on tour, and I had booked the show, and I was dealing with like the venue, and I had rented a PA, and like it was just all this stuff, and Daughters just never showed up. Daughters, like the band that they were on tour with, showed up. They played their stuff.
They did.
Daughters was just nowhere to be found. And so like I had to get the PA back, and this was like a daytime show, and like the regular bar hours were going to start like at around 9 or whatever. And so it was like all a wrap. All right, Daughters was a no show, whatever. And we're all getting ready to leave, and like most people left, and I was just hanging out there. And then Daughters rolled up at like 9:45, and there was like a regular bar crowd there, and Daughters just loaded in. They fucking didn't really say anything. They just set up like right where there was space, and they just started playing Canada songs.
Yeah.
Like, and they introduced themselves as Daughters. I think I booked them.
It wasn't out yet. It wasn't even that record.
Booked them as the Sunsets, I think. And they just
booked it before they changed.
Yeah. And they just went into Canada songs, and just the vibe in there was, oh my God, it was electric. It was like,
it was sick back in the day.
So good.
Your drummer told me that his dad sold his drums for crack.
Yeah.
That's an antidote right
there. Sucks.
That's crazy.
Sucks to suck.
Whoops.
69 Duckman in chat says, will y'all have any merch or records after the Wax Vessel stuff? My orders keep getting canceled.
Oh no!
100%.
Sorry to hear that.
Shit. Rich makes the shit from scratch with his own hands. You will have.
I run a production shop for design and apparel. We do small batch printing and one-off printing. So anything that we've done outside of the Wax Vessel stuff, I always just made myself. So it'll be like short run, limited edition, like small window of time to order stuff. But it'll be hopefully once we clear the path after the Wax Festival stuff, it'll be more of a consistent thing that'll happen more frequently. But the idea is that since I can do them in small batches, it'll be like a constant rotating door of different designs that are always popping up. And
Side note, on your Twitch chat, Gargling Diarrhea, you are my favorite Instagram handle ever. I love you, bro. I love that you like all my shit. And Gargling Diarrhea is the craziest. That's the most in stick handle ever.
Thanks, Gargling Diarrhea. We appreciate you. But yeah, there'll be merch.
So, the band ended up breaking up. I'm not quite sure what date it was on. I wasn't able to find that exactly. But why did the band end up coming apart?
What, this was around 2004? Yeah. Okay. That was at the time. I had to leave because personally, I've always struggled with alcoholism and drug abuse and whatnot. So back then I was having a really, really fucking hard time. I was in a really bad way and I just couldn't function anymore. So Sawtooth had gotten a second guitar player and it just started to look like, you know what, I can't function in the band anymore. Maybe you go take care of yourself, do what you have to do. And then you guys press on with this new guy. And then Rich, more about what happened after that.
Yeah, so it's an interesting scenario because it's the kind of story that if it were to happen today, it wouldn't be the kind of thing that would break up a band. At the end of the day, we were maybe in the small scope of things, we were a little bit older than a lot of the other bands that were just coming up. There were a handful of record labels that we would have really loved to work with, but most of us were working full time already at this point and couldn't afford to commit to the type of schedule that a lot of these bands were committing to, as far as being on the road to support what it was that they were doing. There was because internet wasn't really a big factor at the time for booking tours and all that kind of stuff. So much of it was being done by phone. So much of it was based on the connections that you had. We had none. We had built a reputation as being a really sort of antagonistic presence.
Oh, really?
As well. Yeah, we were very there's some weird, I got a lot of I don't know how many best show moments I can give you, but we got a lot of worst ones. It's going to be
those are always the best ones. So.
The much longer list, But at the time, it was one of those things where we had talked a little bit about, trying to button up the Pervivore sessions and release the Pervivore material as an EP, whereas initially the plan was, and Jake can attest to this, the plan was to do it as a full length. Pervivore was supposed to evolve into that. I had an entire narrative for the lyrics that were going to go into it that I still someday it would be pretty sick to come back to that because that was pretty cool. But it was it would have been essentially
is the Pervivore something that only eats pedos?
No, no, it's a little more nefarious than that, unfortunately.
Oh, is it really not that? I totally thought that's what it was.
I was in my 20s, so I was very.
I always thought a Pervivore just.
I was very edgy.
Molesters.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was. A monster eats molesters. I totally thought that too.
My 41-year-old brain agrees with you and decides that that's what it would be if we were to do it today. Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's call it that.
Let's call it that. No problem. Yeah. I love it. So when we were buttoning up the Pervivore stuff, the conversation was basically, well, let's see if we can put this out and basically put it out essentially as a feeler, labels that were around at the time. You had your Hydra Heads, you had your Robotic Empires, you had your Black Market Activities, you had all these labels. This was before that big sort of the MySpace boon that you got, a year or two later, where you're really seeing those DeVello bands starting to pop off.
What year was this? What year was all this going on?
This would have been 2003, 2004. Nice. And so we put out just sort of CDRs, we sent out a few CDRs of Pervivore. And the conversation was basically if we can't get somebody to be our record label, we kind of have to stop because we can't afford to do this ourselves anymore. You know what I mean? You had to go into the studio, you had to go on the road. There was we're working. We can't even afford like practice space rent. You know what I mean? Because we were a New York band of a bunch of like sort of delinquents trying to work crappy jobs, not making enough money to support ourselves. And I had actually
Diarrhea says that he loves us guys.
I love you too, gargling diarrhea. Yeah, I think another part of it was a big thing that was happening at the time is I had moved out. I had moved out with John, actually. John and I were roommates at that point in a very small, like 400 square foot shoebox that we lived in, that pipes came up through the floor in the summer and it didn't have like air conditioning or something.
Cloacal
like
Kiss
that.
never played an official show with Sawtooth Grin to the chat. FYI.
No, yeah, that never happened. You don't do two bands in one show. You don't do it.
Everybody, don't talk any shit.
Very tired.
Vessel, he's the man. He's taking care of us. He's part of he's a huge part of why this record exists. So, Dick Valeka,
I'm sure we'll get around to it. Yeah. So basically, the conversation was if we don't get it off the ground and we don't get signed, we should probably just hang it up. And then that's exactly what happened. We just hung it up. It's the kind of thing that, like I said, it's not a story you hear a lot now, especially with how skewed towards independent spirits and independent sort of production and independent kind of the whole show, people getting themselves out there, people just kind of doing the entire things themselves. I would argue that if the band existed in that capacity today, we may have gone a little longer and a little further with it. Hey, Jackson. Yeah. So that's kind of what happened there. It's not really like this.
Anyway, we have a sick record out right now.
Not really the sparks that you'd
we're going to
expect.
begin to the.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah. I watch Chris's shows, man. I know there's an arc to these things. All right. We're talking about the past right now. We're going to get to it.
Yeah.
You're right. Herbivore is like the most important part of our past.
Just a tiny little bit.
So why bring the band back after so long? I'm assuming it was just kind of boredom under like lockdowns and stuff, or was there like plans to bring it back before then?
No, it was no plans, but it was definitely a pressing. There was a fucking. It wasn't finished. Like we weren't finished. And it slowly came back together. It wasn't like. There was something in me, like there's fucking material that like needs to there's things that need to be said. And it was really from like in 2010, 2011, 2009, that we tried to make another go of it. And some of the material that started to get written there just got left in the gutter, and I always thought that was a bummer. And there was a lot of starts to stuff that like was still laying around, that was still in my head. And just started to think like, well, maybe you just collect dusting some of this stuff off, like, stitching some of it together, like reaching out to some other guys, like, and this thing just slowly kind of came back together. And I think right up until this year, not all of us believed that this was going to happen or work,
Well, it's interesting you say that you were just like kind of finding old stuff, dusting it off. Elliptica Bruh in chat says, would you guys ever revisit some of the songs or integrate more ideas from the Jabberwocky era? I know that some of the riffs on it I recognize ended up on Good. So I'm assuming that's the case.
And we've got a whole bunch more.
Just wait.
Well, that's something that started to like, so, I find it easiest, like when I'm starting to write, to just start with something that's like already developed. So like the Jabberwocky era, like that was all supposed to be like a whole full length, and like all the threads got kind of frayed and like, pieces fell off and whatever. So I took some of the unfinished stuff from that and just used it as, jumping off points to start working on the material that would eventually become, our current new record. But now that the machine is back up and running, those Jabberwocky demos, we could do those a lot better now. We could do those a lot better now. And there's some other ideas laying around. We could jam those together. And so that's what we're doing now. We're re-demoing all the Jabberwocky demo stuff, which is 3 tunes. And it's probably going to be some other stuff. You could probably expect another release from us. I don't know how our time frame, but in the future. what is that? Words on paper.
Shows soon. We're definitely going to be talking about y'all's plans later on. Dead Mountain Mouth says finding Cuddle Monster on CD for $2 at a Goodwill is still one of the better thrifting finds. Loving the new album too.
Cheers.
Cool.
I live at Savers, bro. So I feel you.
So I don't know what this means exactly, but some people are saying this is a good question. Grind Lord says, was there a plan for a full album in the era of Montrose Jackals and Jesus Hive?
Yeah, so that's the Jabberwocky stuff. We just answered that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I've never heard it called that before. Okay.
It's coming back, man. We got some plans. We got some plans for it. We've been talking about it, and we're pretty optimistic and enthusiastic about, like Jay said, being able to serve the material a lot better. You know, we did incorporate those demos into the Pervivore Wax Vessel release. So, you know, one of the things that Jay and I were talking about is that if we were going to really dive back into it, you know, we got to let's make it matter. You know, it's got to be like a full revisit. It's got to be like really delving back in, rethinking it. From my perspective, there's going to be lyrically and vocally, I'm in a different headspace than I was 10 years ago. So I want to revisit the material from like this headspace as opposed to that one. So I'm excited for it to evolve beyond what people understood it as at that time.
Rich's vocal performance as well as lyrics on this current album, is the best shit he's ever done, period. I'm a huge fan of Rich's. I'm not just in a band with him. I'm a huge fan. And it's the best shit he's ever done. Same with Sprinkle. Sprinkle has never written sicker riffs than this. Sorry.
Just FYI, John calls me Sprinkle. Like, my name is Jay or Jason, but John calls me. So you might hear Sprinkle throughout the interview.
Where'd the name Sprinkle come from?
Temple of Saturn.
How much time do you got?
Yeah.
It came from his mother's vagina.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
But
Two
seriously,
that's two vaginas.
as a
so
big
far.
fan,
3.
you have never heard these two guys doing what they're doing on this album. I'm sorry. You've never heard anything like it.
I'll go ahead and
They've
not
never
be
sounded better.
I just go ahead and agree. I'll go ahead and agree.
Oh yeah, take the win, take the W.
You know, and primarily about these guys as well. You know, for me, it's just, you know, when I look back at all of my favorite records, you know, they're these tremendous examples of very sort of very specific, very well thought out, very sort of what you could perceive as single-minded, you know, like hitting you like a monolith of a concept. And here it is from beginning to end. And you're getting this entire thing. And it's all essentially blasting you in the face with this one concept. But the reality of it is that those big, beautiful, epic musical moments that have sort of dotted my life, you know, over the course of however many years I've been doing this, they're all made up of individuals doing some really sort of specific, idiosyncratic, only this person does this type of thing, type of stuff in that setting. You know, at the end of the day, like different people bringing their idiosyncrasies together to make one thing.
I know all these guys'
Beautiful.
influences. I've been friends with these dudes for 25 fucking years. I know everything they listen to. They have smashed their heroes.
Oh, well.
Are being falsely modest right now. They have smashed them all.
I'll take it. I'll take it
now than anybody's ever done it in this way. Period.
No, it is great.
And
It is great.
I haven't broken any microphones to do it. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's my past.
Do you usually break a bunch of microphones when you're recording?
I've got a graveyard of SM58s laying in my wake, Chris. Let me tell you something. I built quite the reputation in my younger days of ruining other people's equipment, and I would like to just go ahead, take this opportunity, this public forum, and apologize to all of you.
And so, who would you think, Chris Deere, would be the appropriate person to record such a magnanimous effort?
I see now. Hang on.
I've got
Chris,
the
what's
recording information.
Because you can't just have a couple of.
What's your flow, though, Chris? Hang on, though. What's your flow?
Best work and not capture it.
I don't want to mess this up.
Let's not dive directly into it. Let's talk about the set up the album a little bit more.
It's a slow burn.
The band's back now. You got a sick new logo.
We have 23 minutes left. We're past.
I drew it. Hang on, wait. I'm about to take some credit.
You got a sick new
shit.
logo. That's really badass.
Chris, I drew that shit.
That's fucking sick, man. Do you do all the art, I guess, for the project?
So I drew the current logo. I drew the previous.
I am Daniel Roboletto. You are correct.
I drew the previous death metal logo that everybody loved, but I hated, which prompted me to draw a new one. I drew the Cuddle monster, little guy, and I did all. Oh yeah, I just on a piece of paper, and then we scanned it. A scanner was this thing. It was like this flatbed thing that we had back in the day, where you would take your drawing, you would put it down, and you could put it into the computer that way. It was pretty cool at the time.
Into the computer.
Into the computer. You'd put it in the computer.
And the paper would just be gone because it'd be in the compuder.
Yeah, the paper would basically get swallowed up into the computer. That's how that worked. I don't know if you guys were aware. I know a lot of your viewers are young, so I just want to make sure everybody knows what I'm talking about.
You got the sick new logo. You're on top of your game, apparently, doing the best stuff that y'all have done. What outside of that has evolved since y'all did Cuddle Monster, since y'all did Pervivore, Jabberwocky? What's like the new direction y'all are trying to get into? Any new
Hip-hop.
additions to the sound overall? Hip hop, that'd be fucking sick.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Kevin. Hey.
Hi. I chime in when needed.
I like it. Very important. Very important. I don't know that hip hop is a I don't know, like if it's a North Star for anybody or not. It might be though. Jay, what do you since the principal, beginning point of most of the
songwriting. The 50th
record.
Law, it's by 50 Cent and Robert Greene. They co-authored it.
Yeah.
Great book.
So what's the question? Yeah.
What would you say sound wise? Was the objective?
Yeah. How have y'all evolved? I guess since Cuddle Monster.
I died, and that's when my playing got better.
Yeah. John was resurrected. My priorities as a guitar player and a musician have changed. I mean, shit. If we're talking from Cuddle Monster, because
since the band came back, when y'all started picking this stuff up seriously again.
I tend to I used to focus a lot on single note playing and like a lot of leady sort of stuff, like riffy sort of shit. And I personally don't really.
You mean like box stuff?
No. No.
Like single note stuff, like more melody driven, like box stuff.
Yeah. Yes. I'm losing the thread.
I got 16 hours into editing Sprinkle's new vid. Sorry.
Yeah.
Of all single note.
I'm trying to do a lot more with less. And definitely like create it's a sense of urgency. Like just urgent is the overall vibe that I want to get across. And I like the challenge of working in like just cool harmonic ideas that I feel really cool about, harmonic textures and colors and stuff into music that's very hectic and that's something that's like really, really satisfying for me. Like there's like a really fucking bananas like rhythmic pattern that I can do some cool like harmonic passage through, like some maybe with a little bit of fucking voice leading in there. Like that's where I feel accomplished at the end of the day.
You say it's more melt bananas?
Yeah, it's exactly like Melt Banana. It sounds exactly like Melt Banana.
No, not the band. You said bananas, so I just want to give talk about Rich's shirt for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Pineapple bananas. Voice leading.
I don't know that Jay has got a lot of fruit in his mind when he's composing, but I'd assume not.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No. So, Rich, you haven't been on any of the releases yet, or is this your first one, or were you on another one too? Or not Rich. I'm sorry, John. I don't know why I thought I got the names mixed up. I'm sorry, John. This
I'm
is
on
your first
all
release
of
with them.
them. I'm on everything.
I'm so sorry. I got the names mixed up. I got too lost in the sauce.
I have a PhD in Rich Lombardiism. As the singer of this band, I object to that previous statement.
But is this your first release with them, John, or were you
Definitely.
also on? It was okay, awesome. So,
Yes, it's not my first time playing with them, but it's my first real deal release.
gotcha.
But Hey Jackson.
They can hear
Hey,
you.
Jackson.
John's orbited around the band since the beginning. John and Jay were friends since before Jay was in the band. Our bands that were playing sort of when we got together, all kind of like we always played with whatever band John was playing, and we would always play with that band. So yeah. But this is the first time he's officially on one of our records. Go ahead.
So, do you change your style at all to incorporate yourself into Sawtooth, or are you just like you have your own style that you feel like works effectively amongst all the bands that you've been a part of? Does that make sense?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
The first time he's quiet the whole night.
Yeah, I just can't believe anybody's even talking to me. So first of all, these keys are almost 100 years old. All right.
Okay.
Second of all, of course, the style changes when I entered this band. Of course it does.
How does it change?
Like Thomas Robertine, who I love, and I spent years practicing and shedding with. But that's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different vibe. So, of course, it's going to have my own self injected right inside of it.
Well, no, I'm saying, do you change your style to fit with the Sawtooth Grin, or is it more of just like your, I don't know, the natural way that you drum is brought into? Does that make sense, or are you trying to conform yourself to?
You're asking me if when I'm like in North Carolina, I speak with a little Southern twang.
Yeah,
when I go to Brooklyn, New York, I talk with a Brooklyn accent. Hey,
It's horrible.
No, yeah. Do you have a
Horrible
Sawtooth
Southern
Grin accent? I guess is what I'm saying.
no way, bro. I do what I do.
Okay, I got you. Then we got the newest member, I guess, Kevin.
Hey!
Hello.
Hey!
So what are you bringing to?
Thanks. It was great. I'm here. I'm back.
So how did you get involved with Sawtooth, and what are you bringing to the table?
My old band, Knife the Glitter, used to play with them back in the day, a long time ago.
Oh, Knife the Glitter, sick.
Thick band.
So
I
sick.
don't know if I talked to you or not, but I definitely talked to Knife the Glitter on here before. I don't know if you were.
They were doing
recording it or not.
instrumental prog before.
That was probably me then.
Periphery, all that shit.
Okay. It's been a long time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I forgot. But
Kevin was not in that interview with Knife the Glitter. I know because I'm a fan of this show, and I watched that episode.
Who was in it then? The other guys?
It was some of the other fellas.
Yeah.
There's only two other ones, so
It was
only two other guys.
it was the drummer, and it was the fella that used to sing before you guys went instrumental.
Oh, Joe. Okay,
Yeah,
that must have been a while ago then.
Yeah, it was.
It was. But so how did you join Sawtooth, and what are you?
Well, they asked me to record the new record. I declined, but they kept pestering me, so I eventually had to give in. I got to pay those bills. So then we finished the record and we listened to it a bunch, and I was like, man, this is so good. And I feel like I record so many bands like all the time, constantly. I very rarely ever want to be in them. And a lot of them are really great too, but this was like right up my alley. Like, it's the language I already speak, it's pretty much. And they're all fun to hang out with. So I just figured, yeah, maybe they'll want me to play. And they said yes. So
I thought he
we're
was
now
playing
married.
coy, man. I thought he was playing coy. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think he's like, might be for real. Like Kevin is so sick, and he's like, dude, if you don't need like maybe like a homie on guitar for shows, what's up? I'm here.
Yeah,
So good. I got two phone calls. One from each of these guys, one from Jay and one from John, with two totally different accounts of Kevin trying to sort of insinuate that maybe he'd be interesting in joining the band. And I get a call from Jay, and Jay is just like, dude, like, we had a lot of fun recording today. It was cool. Kevin was joking around a lot about like joining the band. I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. That's kind of cool. And then I got a call from John, and John was like, Kevin wants to join the band. Like, for real. I said, which is it?
So
Kevin's sick, dude. He's done a lot of
Kevin
gigs.
is sick.
He's done a
Thanks,
lot of
guys.
cool gigs. He's recorded a whole lot of big bands. Like, it's not, he didn't just join the band. He sort of put a stamp of, like, that's the real deal.
Yeah, I recorded John when he was a little baby.
Yeah.
Way
Back in 2008, I think.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about some of your influences from back then. How have they changed since? So what are you currently being influenced by?
Oh man. I personally, I don't listen to music really all that much. I know that's a really pretentious thing to say, but like
No, I get that a lot, actually. A lot of people don't keep up with like the new releases.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's cool. Like I like, and I'm not even joking. Like the last thing I listened to was your new EP. Like I've been painting my house. Yeah. I've been painting my house, and on Friday or Thursday night, I put it on, and it's only like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So I listened to it like 10 times. Like,
Come on now.
I swear to God, while I painted my hallway. Dude, shit is bananas.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Chris, on the new EP. Congratulations.
Appreciate
Very cool.
Bubblegum Laser.
Unicorn Laser Bubblegum City.
Yeah, that's all. That's everything that you need in one title. If you think about it.
But if anything I'm influenced by, like what I'm bringing now is I'm listening to a lot of classical music, and anything outside of that I'm listening to it's usually either like Emperor or Hate Eternal. One of those two. A couple of their records I'll throw on. If I want something a little heavier.
Right.
But I've recently in my life I've been meditating a lot on like, classic like 90s like black metal. Not necessarily like harmonically or melodically, but just like the fucking attitude and the urgency that they're bringing. Like seeing Emperor live was one of the coolest things that I ever got to do, and like just you felt like you're on the precipice of like just a fucking natural disaster. There's just this whole energy that they bring is something that I would like to, convey at least once in my musical life.
It's interesting that like you're talking about listening to all this black metal and stuff, and you're like one of the primary writers for the Sawtooth Grin, which to me there's no like connection
Chris,
between black metal.
He is the primary writer for Sawtooth Grin, by the way.
Okay, the primary writer. There we go. Okay. So like, how is there like a switch just flip in your head and you're just like, all right, it's Sawtooth time, and start writing riffs, or how does that work for you?
Dude, I have no idea. Like a bunch of years ago, I made peace with myself. As I'm still in 19, 18, 17 years old, just wanting to be in Morbid Angel. Like that's really,
if you're listening to this,
if Trey Azagthoth is listening right now, like, dude, I love you. I got the tattoo like on my,
what's your favorite album by Morbid Angel?
Morbid Angel, oh my God, that's really rough. Probably Covenant. Covenant is where it's at.
The correct answer is always Gateways to Annihilation. So
fuck that record. No, no, you're a little younger than me. I could tell. That's why. That's totally why. Yeah.
God,
this is awesome. This is an awesome exchange right now. But
what's your favorite Cradle of Filth album?
Huh?
Dusk and Her Embrace.
Who, me?
Cradle of Filth.
Yeah, I think he's asking you what's your favorite.
I have no connection to Cradle of Filth.
All right, Chris, this is very important right now. Also, the two of them are ganging up on me. They both say I Monarch is the best. I say
it is. Yeah,
I say King of All Kings is pretty legit.
No, that's
I don't really listen to Cradle of Filth.
That's not Hate Eternal. That's
Hate Eternal. Okay.
We're sorry, we jumped on you. Yeah, we jumped.
I don't really listen to Hate Eternal much either.
I'm sticking up for King of All Kings.
I'm Monarch, baby.
Brutal AF.
Look it up.
You would ask how in my heart, I really, really do aim at that stuff. Like I really aim at that stuff. And I've just accepted over the years that like, it's like, I aim at that. It's going to land somewhere. Like, if I'm aiming like at Emperor, it's going to land
that fast.
John just can't play that.
He's
fast,
making
no.
he's making it sound like there's anything more complicated. That I just can't go that fast. But we're still making those records. We're still making that kind of a record.
I'll never be in a straight up really sick legit death metal band, and that's just a fact that I'm gonna have to like accept.
I'm sure there's people that would make a death metal band with you.
I don't know that I could really write like when I try to write like sick death metal riffs, it comes out as like Sawtooth.
Really, that's crazy. Okay. So it's a curse then. It's a blessing and a curse then.
The curse,
like,
yeah. That's what it is.
So, yeah.
Blessing.
I don't know. I think I'm going to echo a little bit of Jay's sentiment regarding current stuff, but with maybe a little twist, because I do and have made it a point, especially as like the old guy in the room. I think that the easiest way to stay relevant is to kind of pay attention to what's going on. I, at the same time, wasn't interested in collecting a lot of sort of genre adjacent influences when we were in the process of kind of crafting this stuff. I really, really love the idea of not going in with too big a frame of reference for sort of like whatever the current landscape is, and like across all the different genres. But as soon as we got finished sort of authoring the material, so like before we had really moved into the recording sort of part of the process, I opened it up. I opened the floodgates and was just taking in sort of like the scene, so to speak, like just kind of paying attention to all the current bands.
To know what you think of Callous Cowboys and Pupil Slicer.
What do I think of I love them. Hey, look at me. That's what I'm talking about.
Callous Cowboys and Pupil Slicer. Chat wants to know.
I'm with you guys. I'm with chat on Callous Cowboys. I'm with chat on Pupil Slicer. I'm with. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, and the idea that like you could say to me that you're blue till you're blue in the face, that like all these like current bands are citing you guys as an influence, because a lot of people at this point are like, we're hearing that a lot. And
Worm Shepherd is sick.
And I'm kind of just like shrugging and saying like, I can't imagine that that's true. We didn't really accomplish a heck of a lot. We're not particularly important. We don't have a big catalog for people to consider. But it's like, I watch through your podcast. I listen to the Mathcast. I watch, like, I'm paying attention to what's going on. And it's like, man, people do cite us a lot. And I think that's, I don't know. Thank you. I want to say like publicly, thank you all so much. I'd love to get really, a gig with Escuela. Massively. That band's sick. They're so sick. Escuela is so sick. I mean, like, this is just one of those things where I just kind of am like, started beside myself a little bit. I'm not crying, but but as far as what I've been listening to in my time away from making a racket in a band, it's just a lot of Tom Waits. There's just a lot of Tom Waits.
Really? Okay.
Like that's my main thing,
I wrote a report for college about Tom Waits.
You wrote a report about Tom for college?
Yeah, man. I had this whole troubadour section of pre-Renaissance medieval Southern France, Southwestern Italians, troubadours. And they were like, give me a modern example of a person singing their heart out with double meaning about love. And I'm like, and then it has to be somebody that played at the Troubadour in Los Angeles.
That would do it. That would do it right there. Great. Yeah, he's probably my all-time favorite. I don't do or sound anything like the man, but he's just the end all be all for me. He's my hate eternal.
So, John, what influences you nowadays?
Dude, there's a whole scene like JD Beck, Donnie Keys, Lewis Cole, Thundercat, the old 55 bar new jazz guys down in New York City, like what's his name? You know what I'm talking about. The drummer from Tigran Hamasyan. But then that whole scene, that whole clique, everything they're doing is crazy. It's nuts. It's amazing. Nowhere is amazing. Lewis Cole's stuff is amazing. It's a whole scene. It's a whole scene of do your homework, get your shit together, learn how to play your instrument, and then jerk off into a tornado with your whole family watching.
I can't say I know any of those names that you mentioned. I'm assuming they're all like jazz drummers and stuff.
No, man, it's not jazz. Dude, listen, there's musicians making legitimate music right now. It doesn't need you to
bullshit.
Give it a genre. I'm just
calling
saying.
bullshit on that.
All right, call my bullshit. Prove me wrong.
Nowhere is great. Nowhere is great for sure.
Debate me. Let's go. That's what I thought. Anyway, those cats are sick because they're pushing boundaries and they don't give a fuck. Pardon my French.
Hey, you don't need to pardon your French here, man.
All these other cats, even in the grindcore scene, come on. About 1% is actually going there.
What's a grindcore drummer that you think is going there?
A grindcore drummer?
Yeah.
Dude, how about Eloy Casagrande taking over for Igor Cavalera in Sepultura?
Sepultura.
He hits the drum so hard the stage breaks.
What, really? That's crazy.
Eloy Casagrande, you never seen his shit?
No, I don't really listen to Sepultura.
You don't know what Sepultura is?
I know who they are. I just,
Okay.
Arise, baby. That album is great, man. Arise is great.
Dude, there's
Great
a
record.
whole world of heavy shit now, but only certain people are trying to take it all the way. Everybody else, coward.
who's another musician that's taking it all the way?
Let me look at Buke and Gase used to. Their new album's not doing it for me, but their old shit, amazing. MFA, amazing. Oh, do you listen to EDM at all?
Not really.
Polo and Pan is the sickest French band from Paris. Who did we just say that was in Paris? DJ.
DJ?
Polo and Pan is
The bass
so
player?
sick.
It's our guy.
Used
Our
to be
guy's over there.
different DJs. Yeah, man. That one is sick as hell. Oh my God. Dude, have you heard Kazimir Libersky?
No.
All right. Have you heard of Animals as Leaders?
Okay, yeah.
They have a drummer in their band named Matthew Garska. He's the Jedi of drumming in the world in 2022. He's also played a jazz record in 2019 with Kazimir Libersky. It's the sickest shit ever. They're going balls deep, pedal to the metal. Listen to that
I need to
shit.
check it out.
That's a recommend if I've ever heard
Oh my God.
one.
And another sick grind / hardcore, ludicrously heavy band from Buffalo, New York called Scumfire.
Yeah.
Rich knows what I'm talking about.
I think I've heard that
Check
name
out.
before.
That's my brother's band. Check it out.
Just try saying Scumfire.
Oh, that's definitely where I
That
heard it from. Is because your brother was
Great.
in it. That's right. I remember now.
My brother's in it.
Sick band.
Very sick. Very cool.
So, Kevin, what are some of your influences
Hi.
going into this?
Big Kev.
I'm kind of like Jason, where I don't listen to music. Like I just came back on a long car ride today with zero radio the entire time because I listen to more music than anyone I know because I'm working on it for 8 to 10 hours a day. So like, yeah, when I'm done doing that, the last thing I want to do, honestly, is like, what I used to do was, look for more bands and music and stuff. And I just, it's overload, when you work on it all day.
So are you a podcast guy or are you literally sitting in silence?
No, I'm a podcast guy. I listen to people talk sometimes, if I'm by myself usually. So silly podcasts, like comedy podcasts, stuff like that. But influences, for me, it's always been like King Crimson, a lot of their catalog, stuff like that.
Okay,
yeah.
taking it way back then.
Music, Rush. Yeah, old stuff. I'm an old man. I see all this gray in here. It's wisdom.
That's why I shaved. I was like, oh man, I gotta look younger. I gotta look younger for this podcast.
If I shaved, my wife would literally leave me right now. So I'm not doing that.
Just trying to look through the chat a little bit more. Okay. I think
What about you, Chris? What are you listening to?
Yeah, to the chat, Lewis Cole is effing sick and Clowncore is sick.
Is one of those guys you
Check out his
mentioned
new
in
record,
Clowncore then, John?
Say it again?
Is one of those guys you mentioned in Clowncore?
Yeah, Lewis Cole's a drummer in Clowncore.
Okay, cool. Gotcha.
But that was a joke. That was a silly joke. Although it's sick.
Okay.
even when he farts, it's sick.
But what I'm into right now, my two top albums are Black Matter Devices album and Chat Pile. Fucking sick. Gospel's really badass too. But yeah, so the lyrics are full of metaphors and imagery. I'm assuming, Rich, you did all the lyrics, or?
I did.
Okay, sick. Full of metaphors and imagery. What's the overall theme of the lyrics?
Wow. Oh boy. All right. Well, this band, each individual member has had, their own arc back to the band, their own sort of pathway back to the band. And some of that's been sort of paved with hardships or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I was really looking to approach the lyrics from sort of my perspective. And my perspective was that I am just like this family guy who lives in North Carolina, and I got a wife, I got a kid, I got a house, and I'm good, and everything's cool. And so I thought, from a band that prided itself on being really antagonistic for the whole duration of its previous existence, I thought in 2022, what is the best and most efficient way to sort of capture the spirit of being an antagonist, a villain, without retreading the same ground, because the same ground doesn't work in 2022. Like to be the way we were, to be antagonistic in the way we were being when we were younger wouldn't play, it wouldn't work, it just wouldn't kind of make sense in this day and age. And I don't know, like, again, paying attention to like where a lot of bands are coming from, paying attention to sort of just like the general landscape of how does people feel on a day-to-day basis about any given thing. I said the most antagonistic thing I could do is to just make a whole record about how I'm doing okay. Like I'm doing well. Like here's a record about how I'm doing well. Yeah, I mow the lawn. I like it. Like it's cool. Like everything's good. I got a mortgage. It's cool. Like,
wait, these are what the lyrics
good.
are about, really?
So the perspective. So the perspective that I was coming into, writing these lyrics was that sort of kind of like spiteful, passive aggressive, like, and that's where the album title came from, because it's not just, the album title is not just good, it's good. You know what I mean? It's like, it's got that period at the end of it. It's sort of like how you doing? Good. Like, I don't like your band. Good. Sort of like that sort of thing is like where I'm unaffected. I don't care. Things are fine. Like it doesn't matter to me, yada, yada, yada. So we had this entire arc of that I was going to be really pissy and passive aggressive and kind of like mean spirited and all that kind of stuff. But all of what I was going to be saying was just like stuff that I feel like is sort of positive about me, my surroundings, my life, yada, yada, yada. And then like these dudes in the band, that I am in the band with these dudes, and they wrote like a really, really phenomenal record that's very much sort of like the musical equivalent to putting your heart on your sleeve and really going for it. And I said, I have to try to match this. I have to try to be earnest and sincere. And it doesn't necessarily have to be from a different perspective, a perspective that's not about like everything's okay and I'm doing good, but it needs to be a little more earnest. You know what I mean? So I really, for me, the overarching themes that actually end up on the album are just about sort of self-reflection. They're about sort of finding places in your life to be satisfied. They're about doing this band again because you truly, genuinely enjoy it, and you enjoy working with the people that you're working with. There's a song on this song about my apple tree. There's a song on this record about the block parties that we throw in this neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like there's just all kinds of stuff. It's just life. It's just life. The whole album is just about living and making the best of things and appreciating things. And a fair amount of it is about reflecting on the past. Afterlife Kids is a really good example. That is essentially, that's just me looking at myself from 20 years ago and asking myself the question, am I, at like 2022, Rich Lombardi, am I the ghost of my former self? Or is my former self the haunted past that follows me around, that's just trying to live my life? You know what I mean? Like, I don't need this as sort of, it is sort of like a preemptive strike on like all of the tour wins that we're going to get. You know what I mean? Where it's sort of just like, yeah, like I love playing live. I always have loved playing live. But we're going to have tons of logistical limitations, tons of family related limitations, tons of all kinds of limitations. None of us live in the same area. I mean, we want to play live and we will play live, but it's the kind of thing where we each.
Don't worry, everybody. We're going to do 6 shows. There will be 6
We're
shows.
going to do 6. We are going to do 6 shows. They will be 6. Absolutely. 100%. But the relentless touring is a younger man's game that doesn't have other stuff connected.
Rich, can I pause you? There's a nice question for you in the chat. I know you can't.
I'll take it. What?
All right. We were going to get to it, but just 1 second.
Elliptica Bra says, I feel like the record is almost coming from a retrospective angle, like, quote, everything good now, but we look back on the past and this led to the negative things and they may have happened. And then to track with like breathe in with a grin and breathe out with a sigh really enraptures this. It's like hyper casual coming at regular life in an aggressive, angry way. Rich, care to comment?
I would care to comment. I definitely comes at it in an aggressive way. I'm not harboring a ton of anger. A little bit of a little bit of the lyrics point to that. I don't need anger to do this. That's not where I'm coming from. I had played a gig a couple of years ago with a band that I was in down here at the time, Old Painless. And it was the first and only time my kid has ever seen me play live. At the time he was probably 5 or 6, and he had the big cans on his ears to protect him, and he'd never seen anything like it. And he was there; he was right there watching us play. We were playing in this tiny little divey, not divey. It's a beautiful. I'm sorry, because a buddy of mine runs it. School Kids Records, a beautiful place. There's a tiny little spot. And, so they were all packed in there and we played the set, and he came up to me after we played and he gave me a huge hug and he said, Daddy, he's like, you're really good at screaming. And he's like, why were you screaming? I said to him, son, when you're a mediocre white man and you have something in your life that people regard you as good at, it's very difficult to not do it. This is what I said to him. So, that really kind of cuts to the heart of it, for me, is what else am I going to do in the band?
So I guess this would be like, I don't know, kind of like dad mathcore, I guess you could call it, in terms of like lyrics.
Dadcore.
Very cool. It's got a lot of dad going on.
Okay.
It's very much this. A lot of this record is about being a dad. A lot of this record is about celebrating the gift of getting to see my kid have a youth, and also to mourn my loss of it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like this amazing kind of I'm watching this child see everything through a child's eyes. I'm watching him grow up. I'm watching him have that experience. And it's very much, living in a neighborhood like we live in, it's very much the experience that I had growing up. And I love it for him.
From Ulysses, he says, the life of the son is the death of the father.
Yeah, it's sort of that. I mean, I love it. I love it so much, and I love it for him. And it makes me swell with happiness, but also man, I miss being a kid so much.
That's such an interesting lyrical theme. I don't think I've ever heard a band try to do that before. So that's
really 100% where I'm at. Yeah,
huh.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at,
super
brother.
Interesting.
Oh, thank you.
What do you think about that, Sprink?
I agree.
So what was I saw a question here. Here we go. XIL3FF says, Rich, what was your introduction to screaming in music?
Introduction to screaming in music. This is a great question. I back when we were young, my brother and I, because we're close in age, we're 3 years apart, and so when we were young, we played in all the same bands and stuff. But before all that, what really kind of got us into it was, it's insane to think that you could cite the radio as a resource for this type of music. But growing up in New York, we had access to Seton Hall's pirate radio, the university. Yeah, WSOU. And literally everything that we heard for the first time, we heard it on that station. That's where we heard at the gate.
Kevin's neck of the woods there.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's where we heard
yours.
That's where we heard At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul. That's where we heard Vision of Disorder. The first time I heard that dude scream, I mean, I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? My introduction to screaming dates further back than that. I am a child that was raised on music by my parents. They raised me on rock and roll from the 60s and doo-wop from the 60s and R&B soul from the 60s, and
that's the good stuff right there.
I kept it all, and I still go back to it. I still reference it.
James Brown was a screamer.
For me, James Brown, like that to me is like that's a scream that I'm chasing. Paul McCartney is a scream that I'm chasing.
Yep.
If you really think about it, dude, like all that stuff,
Joplin was a screamer.
Dude, Joplin, that's a scream that you chase. I mean, and because those are earnest gut, like from the gut, like from the diaphragm, like big screams. I'm not a practitioner of, or particularly like a fan of like the modern concept of like this, like I call it the scream impression that like a lot of groups do, where it's like
across bullshit.
This is like how you do it so you don't hurt your voice. I'm just like, nah, like I'm just gonna just scream as hard as I can.
That Melissa Cross shit is shit.
Do you ever just like shred your voice like to where you can't even speak anymore then? Like does you want to kind of preserve it?
During the course of when we were in the middle of sort of our initial run and we were playing
good call, Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa's a great reference point. Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you, chat.
Thank you, chat. When we were initially active and we were playing a lot and we were practicing a lot, and I was just really sort of sunk into it. There was not really. I was sort of bulletproof. There wasn't anything I could do that was going to adversely affect my scream or my speaking or whatever it was. I just pushed as hard as I could, and then when it was done, and I could have a chat with you. I was probably out of breath, but otherwise it wasn't like I was losing my voice. Now, to record this album, I did the vocals in 3 days, and we're in a scenario where I'm not actively practicing in a band. I'm not actively in a room with these guys, like hashing out these tunes over the 3 years it took us to kind of compose them. I didn't really have anything that I would typically have, all the tools that you would have as like a vocalist in this type of environment. So by the end of the third day of recording up in Kevin's joint back room, I couldn't speak. My actual speaking voice was gone, but I could still scream. Like I could still do it.
He was screaming like a banshee, and he was gone. It was like 24 hours straight of nothing but screaming. He couldn't even talk. He lost his voice. He walked in the vocal booth still like a banshee from hell.
Still screaming. Yeah, right. I could still scream, but I could, because they're really, I don't know, man. Like I'm a big like scream from the diaphragm kind of guy. Like full belly breath and push it out as hard as you can. And I don't know. To me, it's like, I guess mechanically they're different enough, like speaking and screaming, that if you're truly practiced up, it's not about like coming up with an impression of a scream that doesn't hurt your voice. It's just about like, no, you just get good at you just get good at it. You just practice and get better,
Guy's lungs have never been better.
I feel
crazy lungs.
A big lung capacity on this guy. That's for sure. I don't have a lot, but I got a big lung capacity.
Got a huge dog too.
What was the question?
When was your first introduction to screaming?
Right. Okay. So I gave you the stages, my early life, all that screaming, like, dude, Al Green, man, you listen to like a soulful Al Green tune, and then he rips one of those high notes and you're just like, what in the world? Like stuff like that. I'll always call back to, and I'll always think of and as just like these like pure organic sort of like shrieks.
We should make a distinction though, not Yoko Ono, not that weird experimental stuff.
I kind of like that too. I'm not gonna lie. That's okay.
That shit was sick.
But yeah, so that's kind of my headspace. And then once we were in our early teens and we got WSOU pirate radio, and that was really what broke things open to us, because we were like Sepultura kids, we were like Napalm Death kids, we were like Fear Factory kids, which is something feels, dude, that Soul of a New Machine, that first record is really good. It's really, really good. And then sort of it went from there. Like I was a big Obituary guy as well, like back when I was younger, and not nearly fast enough for my taste.
I need to ask a question.
As like an old guy, but
I don't mean to shift the focus, but I need to ask a question because I don't even know the answer to this. At some point, Sprinkle switched to Telecaster Fender guitars only. And I don't know what the impetus for that was. When did
But that was because Rich, because that's because your brother really sweated Telecasters, and I forget what I brought to the band initially, but I got my student loan or my financial aid refund from I was in community college, so I got my financial aid refund check, and it was like I don't know, like $2,000 or something, and we had rehearsal later that day or the next day or something, and I was driving home. And I stopped at the music store, and there was just, brand new American Standard Telecaster. And I bought it just to fucking spite your brother, just to bring it there and see your brother's reaction.
That's perfect.
How mad he got.
If that's not this band in a nutshell, then I don't know what is, honestly.
One time I tickled Rich's brother, and he cut all the strings off the guitar I was playing. It was his own guitar. Cut him with a scissor.
Yeah.
He was like, never tickle me again.
It was like, it was like Montrose, New York was like the Wild West back then, man. It was just crazy. It was crazy on the streets of Montrose. I don't know what to tell you. It's crazy.
It was right by a nuclear power plant. Is what
it was. Yeah.
Oh, that's probably what it is. Yeah.
We grew up in a nuclear power plant.
Shout out to Indian Point.
So, Jason, you play Telecasters?
Exclusively.
I played Telecasters exclusively. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. I mean, I guess if it sounds good, like why change it? But that's.
I've grown to like it's just part of it's part of how I play the guitar now. Like just the tone that comes out of it, and like how I actually hit the strings and like the sound that it makes, and
I have another very talented guitar friend who's described your sound on the new record as spanky.
Spanky. That's cool.
They were like, dude, I've never
mission
heard
accomplished.
I could see
Mission
that.
accomplished.
So heavy and be so spanky.
I could see that.
And if it's if it interests anybody, I prefer Squire Telecasters over top of the line Fender stuff.
Right.
He also has
sonically, not just financially.
Yeah.
So let's get into the recording stuff. You recorded with Kevin and how's no one pronouncing his
He's right there. Ask him.
He's right here.
Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I just now realized.
Chris, you can read it on the bottom left of the thing.
Kevin, how about Kev? Once for the room. Once for the room, Kevin. What is it?
Antriacian.
Hey,
Antriacian.
Well, it's recorded at Backroom Studios, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So what was it like having to deal with these guys recording it?
A lot of tickling. A lot of tickling.
There's more tickling than recording, probably. It's mostly tickling, I think. It was good. I mean, we did it over the course of a couple months, right? We did the drums in a couple sessions, and then we did the guitars in like a few sessions.
Yeah.
Bass, DJ came in, just rocked it in like a day, maybe 2 days. I don't remember.
Man's a superhero.
Yeah. They were very prepared. They had all the stuff like written out and everything for everyone. So that was cool. And then Rich came in, did the vocals with my guy Simon, because I couldn't do it because I was just getting over. I actually just happened a concussion. Yeah. So I rocked my head pretty hard. So I couldn't do anything. And they got it right when it get it at its worst. So I had to stop doing almost everything at that point for a couple weeks.
What happened?
Yeah. But I was in a cave and I wasn't watching where I was going, and I smacked my head on the ceiling.
Oh, like your man cave. Okay, I was like, whoa, this is
a cave.
An actual cave.
Oh, an actual cave. What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, in Austin, Texas. Yeah.
Do you go spelunking and shit, or is this like a guided tour kind of thing?
It was like a guided tour type thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And then so it's not that exciting of a story, but that's but they then we mixed it and mastered it, and sounds pretty okay. I think, right, guys? It's okay, sounding.
Yeah,
it's decent.
It's all right.
It's decent.
Kevin, Jimmy Blastbeats wants to know, speaking of Spanky, John, what snare did you use on this album? Love the sound. Kevin, break it down, broski.
Break it down, Kevin.
I have this one snare drum that I use on so many records. Actually, it's the old Miss Machine snare drum that I got from Chris Penny. And I've had the head on it for the past 4 years or 3 years or something, and so many bands have recorded on it, and no one's broken it, and it just sounds so good, and that's what he used.
The Miss Machine snare.
Yeah, it's a DW brass, so it's cool. It's a great sound snare.
Tremendous.
Well, since we're on sound, Gargling Diarrhea says, do you run stock pickups on your Telecasters, or have you
Nope.
upgraded to aftermarket pickups?
Bare knuckle, bruh.
Yeah, as John just said, I have a bare knuckle Cobra T in a bridge position and a stock, in the neck. And I play a classic vibe Squire Telly if Gargling Diarrhea is concerned. He's who asked, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Blast beats the gargling diarrhea.
Nice.
But for Sawtooth, I almost only play bridge pickup.
Did you tell Jimmy Blast Beats that I used the Chris Penny Miss Machine Share snare?
Oh yeah, we went
Yeah.
over that. What were
It's
you?
happening.
We just went over that.
The best.
Good.
So how long did the recording process take from start to finish?
It was
I
pretty
think maybe-
protracted.
I could check. Yeah.
Oh,
I
all right.
can- Go ahead. You take it. You take it. I don't remember.
Sorry.
I was drunk the whole time.
Yeah. Kevin was pretty loaded.
Pretty lit.
To show up. So it was like a week or two here and there over the course of I don't know, about 6 months. So it's about a week and a half in February, and then another week in April, and then a couple days in May, and then a couple days in August.
Okay, it's not too bad. Not too...
About two days of tracking per musician, and then a bunch of mixing.
That's actually a lot now that I think about it. Like just 2 days to record each instrument. That's crazy.
Per musician
Per-
for sure.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. So it wasn't too bad. I actually have every date in my calendar right in front of me. I can read them
great.
off to you, 'cause I won't.
Oh, so what about the mixing and mastering part? How long did that take to?
I did the
nail it?
editing.
Yeah, John chops a few things up before he handed it back to me. I think it took. I don't like to do too much at once. I like to do little by little, and then let the artist sit with it for a little bit. I think it took probably like a week or two, maybe, like all things said and done. And then they came in towards the end, and we did the final like mix revision all together and hung out and stuff. So that was fun.
Kevin added a few little bells and whistles on the guitar.
I played. I had a couple annoying sounds. I did a little organ part that no one will ever probably notice in one of the songs.
I like it.
I did hear the sprinklers and stuff like that. Are those like actual field recordings or?
Yep.
Oh, like for real?
Those are all sounds from my suburban life.
That's
real.
fucking sick. That's
There you go.
And now knowing that like the lyrics are about like kind of like I guess
Yeah.
suburban life or whatever, that fits so well. It's when I first heard it, I was like, "What's the deal with the fucking sprinklers and shit?"
The point emerges. Yeah, it's sprinklers, and then one of them is the sound of the tire. The tire clicking noise. But
Bicycle tires.
Bicycle.
Oh, okay.
That's in there. That's in there as well.
That's sick.
You're hearing all recordings of the soundtrack of being a dad.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Real
such
life
a
field
good
recordings,
concept.
playground,
Oh my god, that's
church
so good.
bells, bike tires, sprinklers, the whole vibe. It's like there is an Edenic paradise living just above the surface of hell. And that's what it sounds like.
Yep.
PRKR in chat says to ask Kevin what tracks James Hetfield is on.
Oh.
Someone has been to my studio before.
Love that snare sound from Say
They
Anger.
said that they're from Wildman.
Okay. They have experienced the live James Hetfield dropped into their track. I don't know. Did we ever get to do that with you guys? Did I drop any on my stems into your songs?
Yeah.
Next record.
I have all those.
Do you just randomly
Excellent.
interject James Hetfield into like albums or something?
James Hetfield is a popular one for sure because I have lots of his material. Yeah. Sometimes we'll do the dude from Disturbed. We'll throw that in their track and scare the shit out of people when they're tracking vocals.
Who is the crown king? Nothing.
That's hilarious. So
Sprinkle, what'd you have for dessert after dinner?
What tonight? There's no dessert.
I haven't had any yet either.
I would love a vegan jam dot cookie with raspberry sauce.
Do it.
So
All right.
we got the album artwork up on screen now. It makes a little bit more sense knowing what the lyrics are about, but you want to
Hey,
go ahead and
there we go.
explain what's going on with this?
It's meant to be delicious. Taste very good.
So
It entice you to eat it.
can you got it? It's there. It is.
Yeah, it's on the chat. It's up.
I see it now. Cool. Yeah. So the illustration for the album art was created for us by legendary manga artist Shintaro Keigo.
Jay, show him your chat. Show him your
It's not in a convenient spot.
It's not in a convenient spot. Jay actually was the one who thought it would be a cool idea to reach out to him. And so he did. He emailed him. And I guess he just said yes. Right, Jay?
Yeah, Shintaro Keigo is he's just a machine. Like he, I'm surprised after the fact, like at my uncertainty as to whether or not he would work with us, like because he's just a professional and he's just like constantly creating art. And so somebody showing up in his email like offering him money to like make a piece of artwork. Yeah, of course. Like, what do you want in it? Like, it's just very, very professional and very businesslike, and he cranked that shit out.
Is he? I assume he's a famous artist, and I'm just an idiot for not knowing who he is.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't say you're an idiot.
You're not. No, absolutely.
I
not.
assume
I'm
he's a
not an idiot.
famous artist.
He is. He is a famous artist.
Must be cool.
I would say so.
What does
if
he,
you're
do?
If you're a fan of like surreal, a lot of his stuff is very like not safe for work, like at all. He's been around for a really long time. And I don't know how to pronounce it, but like I think it's Aeroguru. I think that's the particular style that he exists in, and it's pretty pornographic. There's a lot of vivisection. There's a lot of it's really, really wild stuff. What speaks to me so much about his artwork is that like while it's very gory, it's not very violent. Like all of his vivisection stuff is it's just this admiration for things and for people and animals. So like he'll have them all like dissected and like rearranged and put together in like different ways. And it's just highly recommended. If you just like Google and Shintaro Keigo and like look through like whatever images pop up, or like, if you feel inspired to like pick up an art book, whoever's like listening right now, like it's just really, really cool, really out there stuff that really, really resonated with me. And as this album was starting to come together, I don't know. It's just something was telling me like this guy might be the one, he might be who we got to get to do this. And what the cool thing, me and Rich think it's really cool. I think everybody thinks it's pretty cool. But like Shintaro Keigo, he does do some G-rated stuff, but that's not really his shtick. So us getting him to do something and specifying like, no, we just want kids like being kids, and just kind of like the joy of childhood. And we didn't have to tell him like, nothing gory. Like we didn't have, like, he just got it. He got it and he did it. And I think he made something really, really beautiful.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, so like, you get this guy that makes all this gory shit and you tell him to just make a kid with like fucking shoots and ladders coming out of his head or whatever.
And it's like, it couldn't be, it was really important that it wasn't winking at you at all. You know what I mean? That it wasn't like, there wasn't like some secretly gruesome element. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, it needs to just be earnestly just kids playing. Like, that's what it needs to be. And I mean,
that's crazy.
Absolutely
okay.
Got it. So he did this big, amazing piece of art. All of it is not featured on the cover, but all of it is featured throughout the rest of the layout of the album. So if you pick up a physical copy, one of the records that we have on sale, you will be able to see all of the art in a big like 12-page book and a nice big gatefold centerpiece for the record and everything.
So is the art like
good.
digital or is it like a physical piece of art?
It's out.
Oh, it's physical.
So, yeah.
So are y'all gonna like buy the actual piece then?
Prints of it. Prints are coming.
Oh, prints are coming.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I meant
Actually.
whenever the artist made it, did he make like one big like, portrait, or is it like a digital thing?
Oh, I
Like-
see what you're saying.
Like, is there a physical this piece of art
Right.
in Shintaro Keigo's house? I don't know. Is there, Jay? Do you think, or is it digital?
It's all digital.
It might be digital. I want to see if I could get at whatever sketch materials, because he sent us some
Yeah.
like mock-ups, like that would be pretty cool. But I don't know if he was working actually like pencil on paper or if it was just digital.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
I think I have it because he tends to work a lot in watercolor. So like there might be like a physical copy somewhere.
it's so cool.
I'd be trying
Yeah,
to
I
get
guess
a hold of.
I think so. Yeah.
He never offered anything physical to us. I don't remember seeing any of that email, but it was a very high res digital copy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That he did in Procreate.
We took his art and then we crafted. I was able to. I crafted the graphic design elements that tie into the rest of the album. The logo, all of the the typography in there, all of the sort of wood looking elements that you see throughout the layout. You could see a little bit on the cover, all the brown and tans. Those are just like. That's Grand Sultan. Those are pictures of my tree that the opening tune is about, my apple tree. So those are actual photos of my apple tree that I kind of worked into throughout the layout of the album. So it was pretty
That's
exciting.
such a good concept.
I had a lot of fun with it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Grand Sultan, man. So it's this app. It's an apple called Grand Sultan Apple. And we have this tree in our yard, and it's the only apple tree in the neighborhood. And it's like this big centerpiece of the neighborhood. And the interesting thing about a Grand Sultan apple is that it fruits in the summer, which is kind of odd. Not, most common apples fruit in the, going into the fall. But this fruits in the dead heat of summer in North Carolina. And so it is this massive bounty of apples every summer that we get. And people come and they take them, and they're really good for baking or making applesauce and all this kind of stuff. And we put it out there to the neighborhood. Come and take some apples. Come and take some apples. They're falling on the ground, and they're rotting on the ground in the heat. And all of these like huge ass like bees are coming. And, it's just like, it's one of these things where it's like this amazing, beautiful thing that's like a nice centralized conversation piece for the entire neighborhood that I truly love. But I also kind of want to cut it down because it drives me crazy.
Such a good concept. Oh my god!
And so, like the opening cut of the
That's so
album is
good.
about that tree, yeah. But so for me, like that's something that John and I were talking about too with these lyrics. That is sort of important. It's important for me to be earnest and me to be honest and forthright, with you guys as a listener, which is a new concept for me because I've never really felt that way about anything I've ever put out there. But it's also important for me and us, I think in general, to preserve the listener's ability to kind of self-impose on the material, to kind of like find a meaning in it for them. Does that make sense? So for me, it's like, for me, it's about this apple tree. And what this apple tree in my life is this very beautiful centerpiece thing that I also hate. So it's like, if you have something in your life that is your Grand Sultan, it can apply to anything. You know what I mean? For me, it's this tree, but for you, it might be something different. So everybody can take something from it. But it's also in the layout is what I was getting to tie it back to the art. So I'm not off on a tangent. The tree is in the dang layout.
That was a good tangent though, because there's no love without hate.
There's no love without hate.
So you guys don't have any music videos yet, but I did see a chatter asking if you guys were ever going to make a music video. So this is about the point where I'd be talking about music videos. So do y'all have any plans to make anything, or?
So,
All right, picture this. It's an abandoned warehouse with a lone bulb gently swaying, flickering. You can see the filament. The band is wet, and the hair is greasy.
And we're pretending to play.
Pretending to play.
We had a joke about that. Maybe I would just take my phone outside and film myself mowing the lawn, and then just put the record over that. Like that would be a good way to do it.
Dude, that would have been so good. Just a loop of you
like
mowing the lawn, just like going back and forth.
Nobody steal it, because I might still do it. So
that
nobody
is
steal it.
such a good idea for the.
At the end of the day, things like and this is this boils down to a lot of like
It's just a pigeon.
this circles back to the spite and the antagonism that we sort of talked about. It was really the birthplace for this band in general. And what it boils down to is if I see something that is getting done, like a logistical thing that's getting done, and it's becoming a thing where now it's the kind of conversation where you have to do this. Like, oh, you're in a band, like you have to do a single. You have to release a single, or you have to release a couple, or you have to do like a video. You have to. My knee jerk is to be like, no, I don't have to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do anything I don't want to do. And then like, I close down, and then we're not doing it, So for me, that's what it boils down to. Like this.
Well, isn't it just like more promotion or whatever? Like being able to put your music video on like other, like, in other areas, or just like a regular.
I get it, and that's the same too. Like I hear a rumor that you had a difficult time getting photos of us.
There is a full album stream on YouTube right now of the Kago art.
Yeah, the whole art, the whole Kago art. You can see the entire Kago piece, unedited and uninterrupted.
It's technically a video.
And it's got like the lens flares on it
with music.
It's great. That's the video. It's the whole album.
Well, what's Sprinkle? Why? You got a migraine now? What's something in your eye?
I'm sorry?
Why do you look so agitated?
I'm not agitated.
Then why,
That's just how he looks.
Why the agitation? There's something in your eye?
So
what's next?
Y'all are planning on doing some shows, I hear. What's the big plan?
There is no big plan.
Okay. But y'all are planning on doing shows?
We are planning on doing shows. We'll have more to say about that the closer we get to it. We are actively working towards being show ready. It's a little bit of a difficult thing logistically, but we all have our sort of things in place to kind of get ready to bring it to a live setting. But it's just going to take time. It's going to take time, and it's going to take squaring some things away and figuring some things out. If anybody else wants to talk about it.
I am Daniel Roble in chat says, have you guys practiced together yet?
Yeah, our first rehearsal, 2 weeks ago.
Nice. Okay. So y'all are well on your way to getting show ready, I guess.
Yeah, well, on our way. I don't know. Well on our way. We've taken the first couple steps.
We're limping towards it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do y'all have like a idea of like when y'all would want to do some shows, or is it still just like
next year? Next year.
Next year. But next year. Any idea like what the timing is that y'all are trying to hit, or?
I just feel like we're giving stuff away if we say.
Okay, I got you.
We released the record as a surprise. Everything else has to be a surprise now too, right?
Christian from Mathcore Index is in the chat, and he says Mathcore Index Fest 2023.
See you there. Cool. Hi, Christian.
So you guys have played a lot of shows, obviously. What's the best show you guys have played?
Oh boy, everybody's got a different answer for that. I'm positive of it.
Oh, I'm hoping everybody's got a different answer for that.
Go ahead. Somebody else. Jay, please.
Is it really this hard to find the best show? Like, Jesus Christ! I know you said you had a lot of bad ones.
They were all 20 years ago. So
okay, it's more. You can't. I got you.
Yeah. Do
you need a minute to think?
Yeah, I need a minute.
I'll fill in.
Kevin's got way more.
Okay.
Go.
I have a lot of shows under my belt. The best one, probably for me in recent memory, was the last Stillinger show that we did. And then that was just a lot of high emotion, a lot of good payoff on that one in terms of like sweat equity, learning all those songs. That felt really good. The worst one, I think, was probably the first show I played with Dillinger because I was so nervous, and the other guitar player, Ben's gear broke immediately within like the second song, and I was so nervous to play, like I couldn't even do basic drills beforehand. So and then it was like a festival with like Slipknot. It was crazy. It was Rock on the Range, I think, and I'd never played in front of that many people before, so I was losing my shit. And then it went over well, but like it was pretty much most of the show was me holding it down because unfortunately Ben's stuff was broken.
It's insane.
Jesus.
Kevin, when are y'all getting back together?
That's a long conversation.
Gotcha. It's not like a never ever gonna happen kind of. Like it's a possible thing that could happen.
You are probably talking to the last person that would know the answer to that one.
Okay. Gargling Diarrhea says, will the shows be new material only, or will any classics be played?
So I'm pretty much the person like, all right, so I don't remember how to play any of the classics. I don't remember how to play any of the stuff that like people are probably wondering about. And I don't really relate to that style of guitar playing anymore. So I've been kind of dragging my heels about like relearning some of that stuff, or even like reworking some of it for where we're at now. But that is getting discussed, and probably will be taken care of.
Okay. And XIL3, I have no idea how to say your name, man. I'm gonna say Zilf. Have you gotten any funny sudden reactions from people when performing?
Funny sudden reactions. I mean, a lot. Back in the day, our particular brand of just sound combined with presentation and the physicality of the performance. Oftentimes we'd have half the room leave, like during the set. Something that's, I think, important to reiterate to the viewer is that like we were not well liked when we existed 20 years ago. Like we were not particularly well liked. It was. Well,
you were also doing something completely different at the time.
The very specific small crowd of people that sort of liked what it was that we were doing. I remember one time we were playing a gig where it was a tiny little basement gig, and the crowd was like, it was not in New York where we were from, so the crowd was automatically larger than we were used to. And one dude was standing next to Thomas, who was our drummer at the time, and he was like headbanging next to Thomas or whatever, and he just leaned over to Thomas and he was just like, "Dude, you play drums like Bongzilla."
Yes, Bongzilla. I love that story.
That was one of the weirdest. Like, I don't know that you typically get like a comment, like a normal voice, a normal voiced comment from an onlooker standing directly next to you in the middle of the set that you have to like pay attention to for a second while you're playing. We had plenty of like, we had a gal one time we played Olives and some gal was belly dancing while we played. I'd classify that as a weird reaction to us.
Crazy.
We had, most of our experience as a band, like first go around 20 years ago, was weird. Like all of it was weird. You know what I mean? And some of it was weird good, and some of it was like weird less good. But I don't know. Jay, do you have a show in mind for the
for best show, worst show?
Best show for the folks at home.
Okay, so it could double as like best and worst show. Like, so that fucking squat we played at in Indianapolis, like that. It was like an anarchist bookstore.
We played with Phoenix Bodies. Shout out to Phoenix Bodies. We played with them. It was awesome.
We rolled up, and like I'll never forget, like, because we're driving around, we had like a literal fucking road map, you know what I mean? And like trying to find your way, and like, okay, now we're in Indiana, let's get a like littler map, let's get a street map of Indianapolis so we could find this fucking place. And we get to the actual address, and there was just a house that was just fully, like, it looked like it got hit by a meteor,
like, oh, that's the place.
Completely just shut. And oh my God, this can't possibly be like, what is going on? There's another house next to it that had a bunch of like dirty looking scene kids, like, in winter jackets, like hanging out outside. We're like, is that it? And like, it's just a ton of extension cords, like running from like, God knows where, like the gas station down the street, and like just space heaters all inside. and just people all bundled up. And this was Indianapolis in like January. It was below zero, and it was fucking brutal. Like my amp broke that night just from like trying to turn it on. You know, like the tube shattered.
Nice.
That was like that was probably the most difficult. I don't know how it was received. I don't know how we sounded. It was
packed.
so
it was packed, and like people really liked it, and it was packed. And we started that set in parkas. Like we started playing in winter jackets.
full winter gear. But it was also one of the coolest, like, because John was in this other band, Negative Hate, who was also on the bill that night. And
I thought it was going to freeze to death, for real.
It was
brutal.
It was my job to film them. So, like, the only spot I could film them from was from outside, like, standing on a cinder block and, like, looking in through the window. And this was like a house. It was just like a regular fucking house. So I'm like, there's bushes and stuff. And I'm, like, standing on a cinder block filming these guys. And they looked so cool, like just in like fucking winter gear and like
15 minutes.
just
15 minutes.
Oh my God.
That's why I'm sitting over here laughing, because even though I wasn't in the band with you guys at that point, like my band back then has the same stories.
Yeah. Exactly.
I wonder if like young musicians are doing the same thing that we did. Like I wonder, like the map quest, like obviously they don't have to deal with, but like I wonder like if they're still doing those like shithole DIY joints.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've played them. They're
time.
awesome. I love house shows.
Oh yeah,
so much.
Chris, I've seen some photos
sick.
of like from your last tour. Like it was just like, wow.
Oh, I've played in I think the smallest spot I was in was like about half the size of a normal size garage, and they shoved like 60 kids in there, and it was fucking insane. Like
That's
like you're getting bumped into like your own like speakers and shit like that. You know, you don't even have room to move. It was so sick.
I think that at the end of the day, people expect like when a band comes back after 20 years and a band is like, oh, they put out a record and people are like receiving it well. Like y'all think that we like, you might think that we want to play like nice places, but I'm here to tell you, like, hit us up in the chat, like tell us your diviest spots and like what houses are doing shows where, and like that's kind of what we're interested in, that kind of thing, that kind of vibe.
Those are the best shows. The DIY.
Rich, you remember that show? There was a show somewhere. I think it was like a friend of Lucas's. It was just fully like this, like a 15 or a 14-year-old kid asked his mom if he could have like some bands play in it, and it was just like definitely like in his basement in the nice, like with the carpet and like in the playroom, you know. Like before it was like he had curfew and everything like that. And like we fully just like played down there.
Yes.
And it was just, they just had dinner time upstairs, and all his friends came over, and like we did that. Thomas threw up on the carpet. Like,
yes. I recall it. I recall it. Yep. But it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. I think that for me, like some of the high marks come from our time. We played one or two times. We played 2 or 3 times at SUNY Purchase. And I think the first time we played at SUNY Purchase, it was in one like a basement area of one of the dorm buildings. And Coheed and Cambria was the headliner, and we played, and the Heatherton Heatwave played, and the Paragraph played, and that was the bill. And it was just jam-packed with kids, and it was just, I don't think they had a working light in the room, and it was just like one of those, like I think Steve Amato punched out a light or whatever, and it was just like one of the craziest, like best, most electric vibes. I don't know that we didn't have much. It was before Chris Russell was even in the band, so it's not like Cuddle Monster was even out yet. It was just one of the first opportunities that we had to play to like a little bit of a bigger crowd. I'm sure 100%.
What was the name of the 2-piece grind duo that had the album called Songs in the Key of Seizure?
Oh, that's a good name. That's a really good name.
What was the name of that? It was a 2-piece grind band back in the day, Purchased that same fest. Somebody in the chat said, "Who do you want to see do a reunion show?" That band, whoever they were.
That sounds so fucking familiar. Like the title of the album.
Hit us up, guys. Yeah, so those Purchase gigs to me, like were killer.
What?
Ohio, we played a basement show in Ohio. That was just, we were the only actual band that was on the bill, and it was literally like just a keg party. that we didn't know what was going to happen. And the guy that played before us was like a one-man electronic black metal outfit or something. And nobody was in the room watching him play. And I mean, it was just one of those things. It was Columbus, Ohio. We set our gear up and we weren't expecting anybody to give a shit about it. And we turned around and the room was like packed to us. It was a basement and we played a killer set. And then like people were coming up to us after the gig and they were buying t-shirts from us, and some kids had like made their own Sawtooth merch and they were like, "We love you guys." I was like, "Oh my God,
that's fucking sick." What?
Wild. You know? But worst show for me,
let's get to it.
also in Ohio, but it was a festival that we played, and it was a lot of prominent bands at the time. It was a lot of sort of like the Robotic Empire crowd, the Black Market Activities crowd. I think Sender Receiver was on that bill. Ed Gein was on that bill. We were on that.
So sick.
Yeah, Ed Gein is still to this day so sick. Love.
Shout out
love
to
going
Jesse,
back to them.
drummer. That's my homie. I love that dude. He played the speedball, white bass drum beater heads, just like Dave Woody. Bad.
Excellent dude. Excellent band. Truly, pioneers of what they were doing at the time. They play like basically it was an opportunity for us to like look cool and good in front of bands that were better than us, and we didn't look cool and good in front of them. We didn't play particularly well. I accidentally hit Jay with a mic stand. He was mad about that, rightfully so.
I did. I got
Sorry,
sad
Jay.
about that. I got way too sad about it.
No,
it wasn't justified.
That's on me, man. That's a foul on me. I think you broke a string at one point. Like, I think our set ended on a broken string. Basically, and the whole under thread of that gig was like, and anybody that tours knows, like you're trying to figure out, okay, cool, like where are we going to sleep tonight? Like that's a big part of it, right? Is where are we going to sleep tonight? And so during the course of the evening, while other bands were basically getting up there and ripping our set to shreds by playing much better sets, this gal she was dating a member of one of the local bands that was playing, and she came up to us and she was like, "You can stay at me and my boyfriend's house, no problem." And we were like, "We'll take you up on it. That sounds great." So you fast forward, a few hours into the thing, and he didn't really realize that the invitation had been extended to us, and they had a fight about it. And the fight continued throughout the rest of the night into the morning while we were actively sleeping on their floors, where we didn't really sleep much because we were too busy overhearing them argue about like letting us be there. And then like one at a time, they would come into the room and be like, "We're so glad to have you here. Is there anything we can get you?" And then leave. And then they would continue to hear the screaming at each other from the other room. So it was a rough set with hurt feelings, and we didn't come off well. And then we didn't get any sleep because the couple's house that we were staying at, they were arguing the whole night. And that was the night that Ed Gein's trailer got robbed as well.
And I just found the name of that band, Two-Piece Screamo Jedis, Madeline Ferguson, which is a Twin Peaks reference. Madeline
Ferguson was great.
Screamo, brutal AF. If there's any band I wish would just come back, it's that band.
Madeline Ferguson played the first Cuddle Monster era Sawtooth gig.
Yes.
Up in Delhi. Was it Delhi, Jay?
Yeah, I was at SUNY Delhi.
SUNY Delhi. Which was
before we continue with all the bad shows, let's go through the chat just real quick. Always Never 18 says, "Seeing Dr. Acula, see you next Tuesday, and now Sawtooth. Who would you like to see reunite and put out new music?" Maybe the Dillinger Escape Plan,
Just told you.
Never heard of them. I'll have to check them out. They're new.
What's the name of this band?
They're up and coming.
But no, who would y'all like to see come back?
Madeline Ferguson.
That's a good one. I like that.
All right, he's hard on that one. What about you, Jason?
I don't know. Like all the ones that I always dreamed about when I was younger, have now happened. There's Carcass has been around for a while now. At the Gates has been back around for a while now. We just had, now we have Botch. That's looking like it's going to do something.
That would have probably been my answer. Yeah, that would have probably been my answer.
I can't. Coalesce would be pretty cool.
That's they're like the blueprint for coming back after a while being gone and releasing a really crazy good album. Like, to me, when we were putting this new record together, I was thinking, man, Ox was so good when Coalesce came back after all those years. Like, that's sort of like a benchmark, you know. So I would say, yeah, Coalesce, that'd be sick.
Oh my! If somehow like Chuck Schuldiner can come back from the dead and I could see Death live,
That'd be lovely.
That would be intense.
What about me and him? Call it us. That's mine.
Sure, I'll take
I hear
that.
I hate that they hate their music that they played back then, so probably not gonna happen. But that'd be fucking sick.
All right, Jay. On the matter of Death, are you a Richard Christie guy or a Gene Hoglan guy?
I mean, that's tough. Like they're each album has a different vibe. I like now in my relationship with Death, like I'm more of a Human is the record. What's that drummer's name? I think Sean Reiner.
Was deep. Was the
He's also a drummer for Cynic.
yes, Cynic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was floating in and out.
Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it's, Sean Reiner's drumming on Human. That's what catalyzed, you know, what you see in
Chris, do you know about Cynic?
90s metal.
I know I've heard him, but like it's not one of them. I'm not really into death metal anymore.
Have you heard of Chris Penny from the Dillinger Escape Plan, who plays the copper snare that lives at Kevin's studio? Have you heard of the Dillinger Escape Plan?
I know Dillinger Escape Plan. I don't know,
You know
like
Chris Penny's the
individual
drummer from
members or
Dillinger Escape
whatever.
Plan?
Sure.
Original drummer, not okay. He worships Sean Reinhart from Cynic.
Okay.
He loves Sean Reinhardt's drumming. That's like how he cultivated his approach to the Dillinger Escape Plan. Sean Reinhardt.
Alrighty, good to know.
It is good.
Always Never in chat says Tower of Rome and Sawtooth split.
Like a split album, like where they do some and we do some.
Yeah.
What, like a 7-inch?
Sure.
What are the kids calling it nowadays?
A split?
Or
yeah.
Or a 12-inch.
I just want to let chat know, Joe, throw in your questions if you got questions. We're going to be starting to wrap this up in a little bit.
We need to do another one of these.
One of those little guys.
Those micro discs.
That thing is trouble.
You guys want who's got mini discs?
That in a while.
Mini discs, that's the name of it. That's
Listen, it's
rest
time over here.
Peace, your car stereo.
You gotta go to school in the morning. So let's wrap this puppy up, or otherwise I gotta roll.
Oh, I got you, man. I mean, if you need a dip, you can dip. I'll go ahead and just ask you, what's your current album of the year?
Hey, there it is.
For me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with Lewis Cole's latest record. Especially the single "I'm Tight." "I'm Tight" is unbelievably good.
Would you say it's tight?
It's tight. It's very tight. Yeah, man. The album is just called. It's called "Quality Over Opinion." "Quality Over Opinion" is the opening track. Dead Inside Shuffle, good. "I'm Tight" though, track 9. Man, if your shit is feeling kind of loose right now, Chris, listen to this album and you'll be tight.
My shit could be a little tighter. My shit could be a little tighter.
It could always be a little tighter. Let's be honest.
That's it.
All right, bros. I love you guys. I gotta get this boy
Love you
back
too, man.
to
You're awesome.
school
Thank you
right
so much
ahead.
for being here, man. You're great.
You guys are the best. I love you so much.
Lay your back.
By the way, the album is called "Good" and it's sick.
It's good.
It is good. Yeah, it is good. I'd say it's good. Yeah.
I'm not trying to keep you all too much longer, but
no, you're good. You're totally good.
Okay, sick. So Jason, we never heard your worst show.
Oh, my worst show. Geez. You know, if it's not that squat, that could be my best and worst show simultaneously. I think because it was just so awesome and so extreme, but it was also like really fucking painful, and really it was really difficult. It was really.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it's off
a
the
really
walls.
hard time. Yeah.
I don't know that I knew that you filmed their set from outside. That's crazy.
I have it. I have Chuck Scandura gave me the mini DV tapes from that whole tour. I have them in a box upstairs. Or actually, I had the DV tapes, but I also have a thumb drive with the entire tour footage.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Man, me and some friends went to a cabin in PA like 2 weekends ago or 3 weekends ago, maybe it was, and we watched a whole bunch of mini DV tapes from our old bands. Dude,
Oh yeah,
it's some cringy stuff when you go
Great.
back that far.
great stuff.
Love it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, you have any other show stories I wanted to?
Oh gosh. I mean, again,
Jeez, I mean, I'll just put out there like that if anybody wants, like, because I've been some places and seen some stuff, and some of that has intersected with the band. So just just to be, I don't know, if anybody wants to DM me personally and talk about it privately, I have some entertaining tales. I'll just say that.
That's fair. That's fair.
But it's not something that I'd want to say. It's not for this forum.
Gotcha.
The Vermont show where right, was it Vermont in that church?
Oh yeah,
basement?
John's not here now.
yeah.
Now we could.
John's not here. We can tell this one.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
Man. So yeah, we were. This was all part of like this whole debacle that happened. Where, I mean, we had the 2-week tour booked, which 5 days in, we found out that the rest of we toured out to Buffalo, and then we found out that because none of the bands that they said were going to be there were there. And the rest of the tour, which was I think supposed to be like 13, 14, 15 days, was just not happening. None of it was booked, and it was just this whole big disaster. But 3 days in, we're in Vermont in what's the name of it? What is the town? Barrie, Vermont.
Right.
And beautiful place. Absolutely beautiful. Lovely place. And we're there on tour with Number 12 Looks Like You. And we're playing in a church basement in this, I don't know, just this Norman Rockwell sort of hamlet, where everything is just so picturesque. But what I've come to understand about Vermont and New Hampshire, there's a whole other world up there that lives side by side with all of the liberal shit that you see. There is a gun carrying, homosexual disliking, culture all shot through there. And so we were just walking around town, to checking out the sites, going and getting lunch, and going into there was a thrift store, and we're coming out of the thrift store, and a pickup truck pulled over. The dude got out, very nice looking guy, and he came over to us and asked, and we were a bunch of goofy looking 19, 18-year-old kids just wandering around, and all the tight clothes. Everybody was wearing girly jeans at the time, and so he goes, what are you guys doing here? Well, we're in a band, we're playing up the road, we're just enjoying your town. And he said, no, what are you doing here looking like a bunch of
yeah.
Can
F
I
words, I imagine. Please don't say it. Please don't say it now.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's not. He wasn't with our look. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
He had some problems with it.
He wasn't with it, and he was being. The most surreal part of the experience was that he was so polite about it. He was just he just let us know that he didn't appreciate that, and we were in his town, and he actually invited us if he wanted to walk around the corner into the alley so he could beat all our asses.
Wow. Wow.
So weird.
Jesus Christ, dude. Some polite homophobia. What the
Yeah,
very polite homophobia.
That's
and there was
crazy.
I don't know, maybe there was a bunch of us were just hanging out by the van. And I think the group that we were was maybe 9 or 10 of us. And so there was just a lot of commotion, feelings going around. And one of the drummer for the Number 12 at the time was gay. And he reacted gay and also a hothead, So he was yeah, I'll go. We'll go right now.
Let's go right now. We're
let's go right now. and it could have been really, really bad. It could have been really, really bad. And somehow like that got diffused. I don't know how. And we wound up playing the show. John, who was playing for, he was filling in for drums for Sawtooth that night. He wasn't in the number 12 at the time. He was moshing during the number 12 and kicked this like 14-year-old girl in the head, like gave her a concussion.
Shit. Holy fuck.
And
knocked her out, and then she woke up and puked and then passed back out. It's bad.
God damn.
It's really bad.
Show wraps up and we're getting outside, and there was a mob. There was just a mob. And I remember being driven out of town, like pickup trucks following us, like we want you get all y'all get on out of here. And don't come back. Yeah.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
That is wild. Holy shit.
That's probably the worst. That's probably the worst. That might be the worst one.
Wow. I mean, there's like areas like that all over the country too, just like in random spots where you don't expect them to be, you know. Just
it was so surprising.
Conservative strongholds,
yeah.
You know?
It's crazy. I think we played well that night.
No, that's why they drove you out of town, because y'all weren't playing. So
I think it was a good set.
That's crazy, man.
Very weird.
Pizza Sushi Roll says, I think John's a bartender by day. What do the other band members do for a day job? You don't have to say if you don't want to.
I am in design and production of custom apparel. I make t-shirts. I also am a boxing coach.
Really?
I instruct boxing. I primarily work with a really great crew out of the gym that I instruct out of. They all have Parkinson's disease, and we use boxing as a way to sort of get them mobile. And because rigorous physical activity is the best medicine for Parkinson's disease. So that's my primary focus over there.
So ever since you got threatened by that one guy, now you're like getting ready to kick his ass next time you see him. I guess.
Always be ready. Always be ready. Yeah. So drawing pictures, printing shirts, throwing punches. That's not to nutshell it.
Jason?
I do maintenance on heavy machinery for an excavation company.
Yeah.
So like excavators and bulldozers and stuff like that.
And Kevin, we all know you're running the studio and stuff like that. You don't do anything outside of that, right?
I actually teach I'm a professor at a local college, William Patterson University. So
really,
do that too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
So I guess we can just move on to your album of the year so far. Cool. What is your album of the year so far?
There's a violin player named Hillary Hahn. She's probably my favorite musician currently, and she just released a new record that's really gorgeous and beautiful. That's my album of the year.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever had anybody mention like classical instrument as their like album of the year so far. So that's interesting.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, it did. Immolation put out a new record this year too.
Like, hold on, I'm gonna make it more brutal real quick.
I didn't want to say that because I wasn't sure if it came out this year. It might have been last year. I don't know. I don't keep up on anything.
It's impacting your 2022 though, so that's the most important.
Yeah, whatever the most recent Immolation record is, that's my album of this year. Could be 2017. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Hard to say. I would like to take this as an opportunity in the spirit of sort of what I was talking about before, to kind of like recognize, the passage of time and the passing of the torch, so to speak, and all these, younger cats or cats that are, taking the genre interesting and cool places. Like I said, we weren't particularly into taking in new stuff while we were in the process of creating good, but since that, that creative endeavor kind of ended, we sort of opened up our hearts to see what's going on. So I'd really love to just kind of shout out a few of these these current cats that
Let's do
are
it.
out right now. I could bore you with some non-genre related thing that I'm listening to right now, or interest you with some non-genre related interesting thing right now, or I could just be honest with you guys and be like, dude, that new Mothman record is
That thing's pretty good.
It's so
It's pretty
good. That new Mothman record is so good. That new The Wind in the Trees record is so good. That new Crippling Alcoholism record is so good.
That's dope. Super original stuff.
Dude, incredible. Like, I am all about, like, yeah, you cited a few of them earlier. We talked about the Dow Boys. We talked about Pupil Slicer. We talked about you mentioned Black Matter Device. How could you not? Like, great. Oh my God, dude, that's that new Serling record. Like, let me tell you something. I'm going to just put this out there. I'm going to just say this. Okay. I'm not a guest appearance guy. Okay. I don't understand it. Doesn't really make sense to me. It's fine. Do what you want to do. That's the world we live in. You make your records. I'll make mine. I want to do all the vocals. I want to do them. I like to do it. I got all these up here. I got some of these down here. I got all these ranges. Let me do them. I could do it. I like that. I'm selfish like that. But if you're making records and you got all these guest appearances, I love for it to make thematic sense. And those dudes basing their entire existence of their band around the Twilight Zone as a concept, it makes more sense for them to have guest appearances on every track than it does pretty much anybody else, right? Because it's based off of an anthology show, right? And I'll say right here, right now,
that is good. I like that.
I'll say this to the Serling guys: if you guys ever do the episode "Kick the Can," call me.
So their guitarist is in chat now, and he's like losing his shit. Chunks Barkley in chat. He's that's definitely a yes.
if y'all ever do the episode "Kick the Can," call me.
He also has a house. He was telling you to play his house earlier in the chat.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm just like trying to keep my ear to the ground, trying to pay attention to these new kids, and I just love liking what I'm hearing, and I just wanted to put it out there that I'm liking what I'm hearing. And so thank y'all for being creative. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Makes me happy. Thank you, Chris, for also putting out wild and crazy music.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so he was saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, yes, please, oh my God, we will, holy shit. So that's definitely a yes.
Cool.
So Kevin, what's your album of the year so far?
I did an album with a guy named Will Wood earlier. We started it last year and we finished it this year. It's an incredible album. He did an Indiegogo for it, and he's just like a local artist, and he raised over $300,000, which is crazy.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's kind of unheard of. But it's such a crazy production. There's so many elements to it, all kinds of instrumentation. It's quite an undertaking to put together, but the songs are amazing. I love it. It's a kind of like folky song. Got a lot of ukulele in it and stuff like that, but it's really fantastic stuff.
The Tom Waits Discord that I'm a mod in really loves Will Wood.
yeah, he definitely pulls a lot from Tom Waits vibe stuff. Yeah. Will's fantastic.
They love that dude.
He's always been good. Yeah, he's from Jersey.
That's awesome. It's really cool.
Yep.
That's signature Discord mod. I would not have expected that. That's crazy.
It is not a thing. It is very, very low key. I have to accomplish very little for them.
Okay, so you got merch that's still available, is that right?
Yes.
Or is it not?
Let's talk about it.
How would we go about getting it?
All right, so limited edition merch up for sale from the 31st of October when everything dropped to the 14th of November. Squawking. On waxvessel.com. There are t-shirts. There are long sleeves. There are album art flags. There are records still for sale. For the first time ever, Nick over at Wax Vessel, who has been tremendous to work with, and has basically, I was telling the guys the other day, like, I can't imagine a record label scenario being this sort of easy to work with and making our lives as easy as it's been. He's been ride or die since the beginning. So much of us even having the money to, exist is from previous Wax Vessel releases, the previous reissues that we had done with Cuddle Monster, with Pervivore. So much of, like his Nick's efforts to get us back out there and the fans' efforts to sell those records out super quickly is why we're talking to you right now. So like, really, it's like a big sort of, thank you to the community and thank you to Nick. Waxvessel.com. He's got 2 variants of the records that will be on sale up through the 14th. It's like, there's a beautiful, like, pink splatter bad boy. There's a like a PVC, like 180 gram for like the audio files out there. Like, go get them.
He's also got an unlimited one also, so
yeah,
like,
that's
it won't like
pink
sell out.
Splatter. It won't sell out. So like, that's the thing, and they're $25 to get them. So they're also, I think they're among the cheapest Wax Vessel records that you could purchase. The reality of it is, and the thing that we were so excited about was that we were able to put together a package that didn't really operate the way the typical Wax Vessel release is, which, those the reissues, the short runs, so on and so forth. We really wanted for it to be inclusive. We wanted anybody that wanted one to have an opportunity to get one. But it's threading the needle a little bit, because you're also talking to a guy that just this year gave away as a door prize, like one of his last copies of the original Cuddle Monster pressing that I've been sitting on for 20 years. So, you're talking to guys that like have been sitting on like just like CDs for 20 years. So it's like, it's threading that needle of wanting to be able to give people the opportunity to get it and make sure everybody has the opportunity to get it, but also not put us in a scenario where I'm sitting at my house with 500 records. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in doing that. What am I gonna? I don't know. Like,
Let me get one. Let me have one out of the studio.
Like, you're good. Yeah, I think you're good. I think we got you. I think we'll work it out.
We could.
I think we'll get that worked out. Yeah. So waxvessel.com. You can find them all over social. Everybody knows Wax Vessel. But yeah, I mean, it's been a beautiful experience. It's going to be, we worked hard to put together a nice package. All the merch looks cool and sick. I think at this point, you might not be able to get the shorts anymore. I think those are kind of sold out.
That's a bummer. I just saw those. I want those. Cool. DJ would wear those on stage, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% right. But I think that everything else is pretty much still up there. And go check it out.
And aside from the flags, the rest of the merch is print to order, right? Aside from the shorts and the flags, the rest of it's print to order, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
They'll close the order on the 14th, and that's how many they'll print.
Nice. Sounds good.
Pretty wild.
No, I'm glad that they did that. Usually, like, the big problem with like Wax Vessel is that you can't get the items because they're gone in like seconds. So then doing like print to order is like fantastic. So yeah.
I was really happy, when we started parsing out what the approach was going to be and how we were going to do it. And Nick was really game to go at it any way we wanted to, and so we sort of crafted this. We put our heads together and crafted this approach, and I think that it's cool. I think it's really cool. So,
Well, anything else you guys want to say before we head on out? Nope. Alrighty.
Thank you to everybody. We really appreciate y'all. We're glad that it seems like people like the record. I feel great about it. I know the guys feel great about it. I'd like to thank Chris for letting us be on the show. I'd like to thank these other fellas for being in the band with me as well. So love and appreciate
likewise.
all y'all.
I don't fully understand why people are still here, why people care, why people are interested, but I'm never going to stop being fascinated that they are. And, I wanted to say it would jump on what Rich was saying, that like, thanks to, I don't want to S Nick's. Well, no, I do. I want to S Nick's D like a little bit, because in his post on Halloween,
just a little bit,
he said something about nostalgia-ing a band like back into existence, and that's like kind of what happened with us. Like there was the Cuddle Monster repress, and just catalyzed all of this. So like now, like we've made a new record. Like we had a live rehearsal. Like we're working. We have new old friends like back around.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. So like really thank you to everybody who's been supportive. And in whatever way that they have been. Yeah. And then just look out for we're there's more coming.
There's more coming.
I do want to say that this has probably been the 4th biggest interview I've done so far. So y'all definitely have a following. It's pretty crazy.
Number 4.
Pretty rad.
4 with a bullet.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
We'll take it.
if you're looking for a way to fill that hole in your heart that the Sawtooth Grin left, you no longer have to. Go listen to the brand new album Good, which came out back on Halloween. You're on Facebook, Bandcamp, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and all streaming platforms. Are there any sites you're trying to direct people to? Obviously, there's waxvessel.bandcamp.com, I guess is what it was, or is it waxvessel.com?
The merch.
Waxvessel.com.
Yeah, it's just waxvessel.com for the physical stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And are there other sites you're trying to send people? Like, do y'all have like a big cartel, or do you have a TikTok, or do y'all do anything else?
Oh, you don't want to see my TikToks. You don't want to see that.
Alrighty.
What about you got an OnlyFans sprinkle?
Oh man.
Well, as for me, drop my channel, follow so you always know when I go live. You can also sub to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and other streaming platforms, as well as get some exclusive emotes. You can also sub for free by attaching an Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube folks, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, click on the notification bell. Don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support me for free. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation, at soundthatendskreation.bandcamp.com. My new EP, Unicorn Laser Bubblegum City, just dropped last Friday. Check it out. My next guest is Dr. Acula, who dropped their first album in 11 years last Friday through Silent Pendulum Records. Join us this Wednesday, the 9th at 7 p.m. Central on 7 p.m. Central, right here on Twitch for the live cast. Thanks for being here, y'all. Hope you had a good time.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
And thank all of you for watching and listening.
Why take the beat? I'm dead.